My son used my email password to steal my identity. Then he married a woman who helped him open credit cards in my name. I found out when collection agencies started calling. By then, they'd spent $85,000. They thought I was too old to understand computers. They thought I'd be too embarrassed to tell anyone. They were wrong. I didn't hire a lawyer right away. Instead, I did something that made them wish they'd never heard my name. Before I tell you what happened when the police showed up at their hotel room, please tell me in the comments what state you're watching from. It helps me know I'm not alone in this fight. You won't believe what they said when they tried to blame everything on me. My apartment in Portland isn't fancy, but every piece of furniture tells a story. I worked 38 years at the same insurance company. I started answering phones and retired as the claims director. I understand paperwork. I understand legal documents. I understand when something doesn't add up. My world got smaller after my husband Robert died 4 years ago. Since then, my days have been about my pottery class, my book club, and my son Michael. Michael was always the popular one. The kid everyone wanted to be friends with. Robert used to worry that I spoiled him, that I always made excuses when he messed up. Maybe Robert was right about that. When Michael brought Stephanie home and said they were getting married, I felt such joy. Really, I did. I noticed her expensive purse and her perfect nails. She was fancy in a way our family never was. But Michael looked so happy. He looked like he'd won the lottery. And isn't that what every mother wants? I made coffee and we sat in my small living room, the same room where Michael learned to walk. "Mom, we're so excited," Michael said with a huge smile. Stephanie barely looked up from her phone. "I'm excited too," I told them. "I've been hoping for this day." Then I did something I'd been planning for years. Robert and I always agreed. When Michael got married, we'd help him start fresh. Just like our parents helped us. I walked to my bedroom and took out an envelope from my dresser drawer. The same dresser where I'd kept Michael's report cards and his baby teeth. "Michael, Stephanie, I want to help. I know weddings cost a lot of money. I've been saving this for you." I handed the envelope to him. Michael opened it. His eyes got really big. "Mom, this is $8,000. Are you sure about this?" "I'm completely sure," I said, feeling warm inside. "I want you to have the wedding you dream about. Use it however you need." Michael hugged me tight. "Thank you, Mom. This means the world to us." I looked past him at Stephanie. She was smiling, but something felt off about it. It was a smile that looked fake. Like when you smile at someone you don't really like. She let out a small laugh. It sounded cold. "Oh, Barbara," she said, finally looking at me. "That's really sweet. That should cover the photographer." My chest felt tight. The photographer. $8,000 from my retirement savings. Money I'd saved by bringing lunch to work instead of buying it. Gone in one sentence like it was nothing. Dismissed like I'd handed them a gift card to a cheap restaurant. Michael pulled away from me. He looked at Stephanie, then at me, then at the floor. He said nothing. In that silence, I understood everything. I've spent my whole career reading people. I know when someone is lying. I know when someone is pretending. This wasn't a mistake. It was a message. My money was expected. It wasn't appreciated. It wasn't enough. I forced myself to smile. The professional part of me took over. The part that stays calm when everything is falling apart. "Well," I said, keeping my voice steady. "It's a beginning then. I'm just happy for you both." Stephanie's smile got bigger. Real this time. She'd won the first round. "It is. We're looking at the Riverside Estate." My stomach dropped. The Riverside Estate. That's where celebrities get married. Where rich people throw parties. It wasn't just expensive. It was a statement. "My goodness," I said, trying to sound happy. "The Riverside is beautiful. But honey, the cost. Is that realistic?" "We're not going to settle for less, Barbara," she said, looking at Michael. "Michael deserves perfection. I'm going to make sure he gets it." Michael just nodded. Like a puppet being controlled by invisible strings. They left soon after. I waved from my doorway as their new car drove away. Later, I found out they'd leased it and hadn't paid the first payment. I walked back inside. I sat down on my old couch. The envelope was still on the table. Now. Felt so alone. It wasn't just the insult. It was knowing that my son, my Michael, watched his future wife treat his mother like garbage and said nothing. He'd made his choice. Part of me wanted to call the bank and cancel the deposit. But another part, the mother part, said I was being dramatic. He was just nervous. She was just stressed about planning. Things would get better. They would come to their senses. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing her voice. That should cover the photographer. I got up and turned on my computer. I opened my bank account online. The $8,000 was already gone. Taken out the same day. I tried to tell myself everything was fine. I told myself Stephanie was young. That kids these days care about Instagram photos. I told myself Michael was just trying to keep the peace. I spent the next few weeks working in my little garden on my balcony, trying not to think about the cold feeling in my chest. But Michael's silence was heavy. We used to talk every week. Quick call to say hello. Suddenly my calls went straight to voicemail. Can't talk now. Wedding stuff is crazy. I'll call you back. He never called back. I decided to be helpful. Mothers don't wait for permission to care for their children. I called him one Wednesday afternoon. He answered. He sounded annoyed. What's up? Everything okay? Everything's great, sweetie, I said, trying to sound cheerful. I was thinking about the wedding. I'd love to help with the invitations. I have beautiful paper and I'm good at crafts. There was silence. I heard whispering. You don't book a place like the Riverside Estate without a date. You don't hire a wedding planner without a date. You don't have a rehearsal dinner planned without a date. They were hiding something from me. But what? Were they ashamed of me? Did I not fit into Stephanie's perfect picture? Or was it simpler? Did they just want my money but not me? The thought hurt so badly I pushed it away. This was Michael. My baby boy. He wouldn't do that. He couldn't. The truth came the way painful truths always come now. Through social media. It was a Sunday morning. I was looking at Facebook. Scrolling through pictures of my friends' grandchildren. Then I saw it. Post from my niece. Someone from Robert's side of the family. A woman I hadn't seen in years. She'd tagged Stephanie. The photo showed a room full of women. All dressed up. Holding fancy drinks. Stephanie was in the middle. Wearing white. Wearing a sash that said Future Mrs. Davis. They were at a restaurant. I knew that place. The gold wallpaper. The expensive lights hanging from the ceiling. It was inside the Riverside Estate. My niece had written, "Such a beautiful bridal shower for this gorgeous bride. Stephanie, you're going to be a stunning Mrs. Davis. Can't wait for the big day." I read it once. 3 times. My hands started shaking. A bridal shower. A big, expensive, catered bridal shower at the Riverside Estate. And I wasn't there. I scrolled through the pictures. My heart was pounding. There was Stephanie's mother. Her sisters. Her friends. And my family. Robert's family. Everyone was there. Everyone except me. The mother of the groom. This wasn't a mistake. You don't forget the groom's mother. This was planned. Calculated. A public message that I didn't belong. Closed my laptop. The sound it made when it shut was loud in my quiet apartment. For a moment I couldn't breathe. I didn't feel angry yet. I just felt like a fool. A silly old woman who'd been trying so hard to be helpful. Trying to plan a party I was never supposed to attend. I closed the laptop and just sat there. The click sounded so final. For a second I forgot how to breathe. It wasn't just feeling left out. It was knowing that Michael, my son, knew about this. He knew. He let it happen. He watched his fiancée and a bunch of strangers erase me from one of the biggest days of his life. The question that had been bothering me for weeks changed. It wasn't "why are they hiding the date?" anymore. Now it was, what else are they hiding? After seeing those shower photos, I didn't do anything. What could I say? Why didn't you invite me? Sounded so childish. So needy. Felt stuck. Frozen by shame. I, Barbara Chen, who had managed million-dollar claims and led a whole department, had been outsmarted and publicly humiliated by a 20-something with fancy taste and by my own son. So I said nothing. I watered my plants, paid my bills. I pretended everything was normal. I told myself they'd call. They'd realize what they'd done wrong. They'd say sorry. This would all become a bad memory we'd maybe laugh about someday. The call never came. The wedding happened. I know because I saw it on Facebook again. I was sitting at my kitchen table eating breakfast. My phone buzzed. A notification. Minis. The same one from the shower. She'd posted again. The first photo was Michael. Michael. Standing at an altar. Under a huge arch made of white flowers. He wore a black tuxedo I'd never seen before. He looked handsome. He also looked like a stranger I didn't know. He was looking at Stephanie. The next photo showed Stephanie in a wedding dress that looked like it cost more than my car. Her arm through his. The words said, Mr. and Mrs. Davis. What a perfect ceremony at the Riverside estate. I scrolled. My hand didn't shake this time. It felt separate from my body. Photo after photo. The ballroom. The giant cake with 7 layers. The ice sculptures shaped like swans. Then I saw the one that destroyed me. It was the mother-son dance. But it wasn't me. Michael was dancing with Stephanie's mother. They were laughing. His arms around her. Her head on his shoulder. The caption said, Michael and his bonus mom. My heart is so full. His bonus mom. Put my phone down. Face down on the table. I didn't cry. I felt empty. Hollow inside. He'd replaced me. They didn't just forget about me. They didn't just leave me out. They actively, carefully, successfully erased me from his life. They rewrote the story and gave another woman my part. The silence in my apartment was complete. Total. I stood up. I washed my coffee cup, dried it, put it away in the cupboard. I went to my balcony and started trimming dead leaves off my plants. My neighbor waved. I waved back, smiling. Inside I felt like a building after a fire. The walls were still standing, but inside was just ashes. 2 weeks passed. The social media posts kept coming. Honeymoon in Hawaii. Mr. and Mrs. Davis living the dream. Accepted it. The pain had become a constant dull ache. My relationship with Michael was over. I had to start dealing with a different kind of sadness. Then something came in the mail. It was a Tuesday. I remember because it was trash day. I went through the usual pile of mail. Junk advertisements, a letter from my book club, an electric bill, and one thick cream envelope. My name and address were printed in fancy letters. In the corner was a gold logo. The Riverside Estate. I stared at it. My first thought was, now they send something? Thank you card for the $8,000. A late wedding announcement now that they were home. Carried it inside. Sat at my kitchen table. Used my letter opener. The one Robert gave me for our anniversary. It wasn't a card. It was several pages. All stapled together. I read the top. Invoice. I read the name. Client. Miss Barbara Chen. I read the event information. Davis Martinez wedding. Event date. The date of the wedding I saw on Facebook. Then I saw the numbers. Total cost of event. $68,500. Deposit received. Check number 2847. $8,000. Amount you owe. $60,500. Payment due. In 14 days. Felt dizzy. No, I said out loud to my empty apartment. This is wrong. Terrible mistake. They mixed up the paperwork. This should have gone to Stephanie's family. I gave Michael a check. But as a gift. Not a down payment. Not a contract. I reached for my phone to call them. To fix this crazy mix-up. Then my eyes caught something at the bottom of the page. A copy of your signed contract and ID are attached, Miss Chen. Thank you for choosing the Riverside Estate. My signed contract. My ID. The blood in my body turned to ice. I suddenly remembered something crystal clear. An evening 5 months ago, Michael came over for dinner. He'd been helping me set up my new tablet. "Mom, can I borrow your driver's license real quick? I need to scan it. I'm adding you as an emergency You need a better password, Mom. Something secure. Let me help you set one up." I thought he was being caring, helpful, good son. Now I understood. He hadn't just taken my $8,000. He'd used it. Used it as a deposit to open a contract. He'd used my scanned license. And somewhere, somehow, he'd gotten my signature. Or copied it. He'd forged it. Michael and Stephanie had planned this from the start. They planned the fake kindness. They planned the lies about the date. They planned to exclude me. They planned to have their dream wedding. A $68,500 fantasy. Then they planned to leave the country on their honeymoon while the bill, my bill, landed on my doorstep. They thought I'd pay it. They thought I'd be so embarrassed, so ashamed that my son had lied and cheated, that I'd quietly empty my savings to make it disappear. To protect the family reputation. The ache in my chest disappeared. The sadness vanished. It was replaced by something cold, dark, clear. The calm I used to feel before walking into a difficult meeting. Picked up the invoice. I looked at the fake signature on the contract copy they'd included. They'd underestimated me completely. They didn't see a mother. They saw prey. They didn't see a retired claims director. They saw a confused old lady. They'd made a huge mistake. This wasn't family drama anymore. This was a crime. For a long time, maybe 10 minutes, I just sat at my table. The invoice lay flat on the wood. My apartment was so quiet I could hear the refrigerator humming. I thought about Michael as a little boy. About the time he fell off his bike and scraped his knee. How he'd cried. How I'd held him and told him everything would be okay. I thought about his high school graduation. The pride on his face. I thought about his first phone call from college. Just to tell me he missed my cooking. I was trying to find that boy in the man who did this to me. I was trying to match the son I'd loved for 32 years with the criminal who'd just stolen my identity. Couldn't. They weren't the same person. The pain of understanding that was sharp. For a second it was crushing. A wave of sadness so big it almost drowned me. I wanted to cry. I wanted to throw something. I wanted to call his number and scream, "How could you do this to me?" But I didn't. Because as I stared at that gold logo, the claims director in me, the woman I'd been for 38 years, slowly took over. I put the sadness in a box and closed the lid. Maybe I'd deal with it later. Or maybe I wouldn't. What I was looking at wasn't a betrayal by a mother's son. I was looking at insurance fraud. Fake contract. Felony crime. Michael and Stephanie hadn't misunderstood me. They hadn't been careless or thoughtless. They'd carried out a careful multi-step plan. Step 1. Get the $8,000 deposit. Step 2. Get my personal information. The driver's license scan. Under a lie. Step 3. Forge my signature on a legal contract for $60,500. Step 4. Keep me away from the whole event so I wouldn't find out. Step 5. Go on their honeymoon and let the bill arrive at my door. Assuming I'd pay to avoid public shame. It was a smart plan. Clever even. But it had one major flaw. They targeted me. I spent my whole career reviewing contracts. Investigating fraud. Working with legal teams on everything from car accidents to arson. My entire professional life was built on one rule. Follow the paper trail. And I knew, absolutely knew, that Michael and his wife had left one. The confusion cleared. The hurt disappeared. It was replaced by cold, hard focus. I wasn't going to call Michael. I wasn't going to call Stephanie. I wasn't going to call her parents. Talking to them would be useless. They'd lie. They'd twist things. They'd cry. They'd make me look like the bad guy for not forgiving them. I wasn't going to call the Riverside estate. Not yet. Yelling at someone in billing would fix nothing. They were just doing their job. They had a contract they thought was real. Well, I wasn't going to be emotional. I was going to be organized. Systematic. Picked up my phone. But I didn't call my son. Called my bank. Hello, I said. My voice was calm and professional. I need to report fraud involving check number 2847. Yes, I'd also like a full credit report. I need to see all inquiries for the past 6 months. Hung up. I turned to my computer. I opened my email. The one Michael had so helpfully secured. I went to settings. Changed the password. Changed the security questions. Turned on extra protection. I did the same for my bank accounts, my retirement fund, my utility bills online. I was building a wall, brick by brick. I was locking down my life. The son who thought I was so easy to trick was gone. The mom he had access to didn't exist anymore. Felt strangely calm. The claims director was back. I was in crisis mode. And I knew exactly what to do. The steps were simple. 1. Stop the damage. Just done that. 2. Gather proof. 3. Report it. I looked at the invoice again. $60,500. An amount that would destroy my retirement. An amount they felt entitled to take. They thought I was just a lonely old woman in a quiet apartment. Easily confused. Easily scared. They forgot who I was. They forgot I was the woman who caught people lying for a living. They forgot that I do not, under any circumstances, tolerate being lied to. My decision was made. It wasn't born from anger. It was born from necessity. This wasn't a family problem to solve over dinner. This was a crime. And I was going to treat it exactly like one. I went to my filing drawer. Pulled out a fresh yellow notepad and my good pen. The top I wrote 2 words. Michael Fraud. Then I started making my list. My apartment has a small room I call my office. It's where I keep my files. Where I do my taxes. Where I go when I need to think clearly. In that moment it became my war room. I sat down with my notepad. My list was short. But every item was critical. Call Riverside Estate. Get contract copy. Pull credit report. Look for other fraud. Put together evidence file. Call authorities. I wasn't just collecting proof of $60,500 in fraud. Of course, Mrs. Chen. I'll have our records team scan everything and send it right away. Should take about an hour. Thank you, Jennifer. I'll be watching my inbox. Hung up. While I waited, I moved to step 2. The credit report. I already had a monitoring service. Something I'd signed up for after a data breach at my old company. Logged in. My stomach sank. There it was. A new inquiry from 3 months ago. A major credit card company. Then a new account. Platinum card. Opened 3 months ago. My name. Current balance. $17,200. Past due. Felt sick. But I pushed it down. This was just more information. More data. Honeymooning in Hawaii. Their new leased car. Whoa. They'd bought everything using my name. My computer made a sound. New email. From the Riverside Estate. I opened the attachment. Page 1, the itemized bill. Page 2, the contract. At the bottom was a signature. Barbara Chin. It was a decent fake. The B looked right. The loop on the C was close. But it was too careful. Too slow. It was the signature of someone trying to be me. Not the quick, natural signature I'd been signing for decades. Page 3. A copy of my driver's license. The one Michael scanned for the fake insurance excuse. I printed everything. Then I called the credit card company. Got through the automated system to a real person. Hello. My name is Barbara Chin. I'm looking at my credit report. There's an account I never opened. The fraud department was efficient. Yes, ma'am. See it. Opened 3 months ago. Supporting document was a driver's license scan. Can you verify your social security number? I did. Okay, Mrs. Chen. Let me look at these charges. Can you confirm a charge for $3,200 at Paradise Travel? Cannot, I said. My voice flat. Can you confirm $4,800 at Bridal Boutique Hawaii? Whoa. Honeymoon Resort. Fancy restaurant. Rental car. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, Mrs. Chen, the agent said. His voice serious now. You're a victim of identity theft. We'll freeze this account immediately. You'll need to file a police report. Understand, I said. Please send me a complete statement of all charges. I'll need it for my report. While I waited for that email, I went to my files. Found the bank statement showing the $8,000 check. Highlighted the date it cleared. The second email arrived. The credit card statement. I printed it. I now had 3 stacks of paper on my desk. Stack 1. The Riverside estate. The $60,500 bill. The forged contract. The scanned license. Stack 2. The credit card. The $17,200 statement. Charges for the dress. Flights. The honeymoon. Stack 3. My bank. The $8,000 check. Total stolen. $85,200. I took out a 3-hole punch from my supply drawer. Took out a new binder. Organized the documents carefully. Tabbed them. Exhibit A. Forged venue contract. Exhibit B. Fraudulent credit card statement. Exhibit C. Original check proving I trusted him. Exhibit D. Facebook posts. I went online and printed them. The bridal shower where I wasn't welcome. The wedding day. The mother-son dance with a different woman. I printed them as proof of deliberate planning and cruel intent. I closed the binder. It was heavy. It told a complete, undeniable, heartbreaking story. Michael hadn't made a mistake. This wasn't confusion. This was cold, calculated, criminal behavior. He and his wife had plotted for months to steal my identity and drain my retirement savings. The mother in me was finally silent. The claims director had finished her investigation. Now it was time for the final step. I looked at the clock. 2:45 p.m. Picked up my phone. Dialed the non-emergency number for Portland Police. My voice was steady. Hello. My name is Barbara Chin. I need to come in and file a report for identity theft and financial fraud. I put the binder in my work bag. The one with strong handles. I used to carry it every day to the office. Felt heavy. Heavier than usual. I checked myself in the hallway mirror. I looked normal. My gray hair was neat. I wore a simple sweater and pants. I looked like any other 64-year-old woman in my building. A grandmother. Someone you'd ask to watch your cat. I didn't look like a woman about to file criminal charges against her only child. Picked up my car keys. Drove carefully. Obeyed every traffic rule. My hands were steady. The radio stayed off. The city moved past my windows. The library. Coffee shop. The park where Michael used to play as a kid. Felt nothing. Or rather, I felt a great empty stillness. The time for feelings was over. I was simply taking the next necessary action. This was the next item on my list. And I was going to complete it. I walked into the police station. It was quiet inside. Smelled like coffee and floor cleaner. A young officer sat behind a tall desk. Looked at a computer. He glanced up as I approached. "Afternoon, ma'am. How can I help you?" "Yes," I said. My voice clear and firm. It didn't shake. "My name is Barbara Chin. I'm here to file a report for identity theft and financial fraud." His face changed slightly. He'd been expecting a lost purse or a parking complaint. "Okay," he said, pulling out a form. "Please have a seat. Detective will see you shortly." I sat in one of the plastic chairs. Didn't fidget. Didn't check my phone. Just put my bag on my lap and waited. I'd waited in hospital waiting rooms for doctors to finish long surgeries. I know how to wait. After maybe 20 minutes, a woman in business clothes came out. She looked tired but alert. "Barbara Chin." Understood. "I'm Detective Rodriguez. Come with me, please." Her office was small. Papers everywhere. Files stacked on every surface. He pointed to a chair. "So," she said, sitting down, pulling out a notepad. "Mrs. Chin, you're here to report fraud." She looked at me with an expression I recognized. A mix of doubt and patient tolerance. She probably thought I'd been scammed by a fake email. She expected a confused, elderly woman. "Yes," I said. "I'm a victim of identity theft." "And who committed this theft?" "Someone online." A stranger. My son, I said. Detective Rodriguez stopped writing. Looked up sharply. She hadn't expected that. Your son. My son, Michael Chen, and his wife, Stephanie Martinez. I reached into my bag. Pulled out the binder. Placed it on her desk with a solid thud. The patient tolerance was gone. She was looking at me like a professional now. You were in what field, Mrs. Chen? Insurance claims director, I said. For 38 years. She nodded slowly. That explains this. This is the most organized report I've ever seen from a civilian. You've done my job for me. I believe in preparation, detective, I said. This is a serious crime, ma'am. You understand that. We're talking felonies here. Grand theft. Identity theft. Forgery. I'm fully aware, I said. She leaned forward. Voice softer. Mrs. Chen. Have to ask. This is your son. Once I take this report, things start happening. Investigation. Warrants. Possible arrest. You can't take this back once it starts. Are you absolutely certain you want to do this? I looked at Detective Rodriguez. A tired woman in a messy office. Giving me one last chance to be the confused old lady. One last chance to be the forgiving mother who'd absorb the cost. Who'd protect her child from consequences. I thought about the $85,200. My retirement. The hollow feeling of seeing him dance with another woman who was called his bonus mom. Detective Rodriguez, I said. My voice like steel. When my son and his wife forged my name, they began this. They didn't just hurt my feelings. They broke the law. They gambled everything on me being weak. They bet my love for Michael was stronger than my self-respect. Pause. Gathered my final courage. They bet wrong. I'm here to report a crime. Please take my statement. Detective Rodriguez stared at me for a long moment. Then she picked up her pen. Okay, Barbara, she said. Let's get started. I drove home. Followed every traffic law. The binder was no longer on my passenger seat. I'd left it with Detective Rodriguez. Left the burden that had been crushing me. Felt strange. For 2 days that binder had been my whole focus. I'd organized all the pain into exhibits and tabs. Now it was gone. In the hands of the justice system. I walked into my quiet apartment. The silence that had felt like loneliness for weeks now felt different. Felt like peace. I'd done the hard, necessary right thing. Made myself tea. Sat on my balcony with my plants. And waited. I knew from 38 years of handling fraud that I wouldn't wait long. Detective Rodriguez had been impressed by my file. She told me with this level of evidence, she wouldn't just investigate. She'd act. She explained her first calls, legally required, would be to the fraud departments at the credit card company and the Riverside estate. She had to tell them the identity on their contracts. Barbara Chen was a victim, not a customer. That would be the first domino. I didn't know then that Michael and Stephanie were still in Hawaii. I learned later from Detective Rodriguez exactly what happened. While I was watering my plants, they were at a beach restaurant ordering expensive drinks. Living their best life, as they'd posted online. A life funded by $17,200 on my stolen credit card. The first domino fell exactly as I expected. The fraud team at the credit card company, armed with an official police report, didn't just freeze the account. They flagged every charge as criminal. I imagine the scene clearly. I picture Stephanie laughing, trying to pay for dinner with the platinum card. I picture the server coming back. His face polite but uncomfortable. Sorry, ma'am. This card was declined. I imagine her confusion. Her anger. Run it again. It's brand new. I imagine the server's quiet response. The bank has seized this account. It's been reported stolen. The embarrassment. The sudden panic. Michael probably tried to fix it. Fumbled for his real debit card. But it wouldn't help. The second, much bigger domino was already falling. The legal team at the Riverside estate, after getting a call from a police detective about a forged $60,500 contract, was not in a forgiving mood. They were victims too. And they had no emotional connection. They had expensive, aggressive lawyers. Those lawyers, realizing the contract with Barbara Chan was void, immediately went after the only other names in their system. The names on the $8,000 deposit. The names of the couple who actually had the wedding. While Michael and Stephanie were arguing with the restaurant manager about the declined card, Michael's phone rang. He would have seen a Portland area code. Might have thought for one brief moment it was me, calling to beg him to come home. It wasn't me. It was a lawyer. A lawyer telling him the contract for his wedding was fraudulent. A lawyer telling him Barbara Chan had filed an official police report. A lawyer, in a voice that accepted no arguments, telling him that he and Stephanie Martinez Davis were now personally and immediately responsible for the full $68,500. The $8,000 deposit was now considered part of the fraud. A lawyer who surely told him the Riverside estate would pursue its own civil and criminal charges if the debt wasn't paid in full. And then, just as their world was falling apart, the final call. The one from Detective Rodriguez. This one wouldn't be a suggestion. It would be a notification. A notification that they were primary suspects in a felony investigation for identity theft, forgery, and grand theft. A notification that the detective expected them back in Portland immediately for questioning. And that she strongly recommended they get a lawyer. The bomb I'd quietly built and handed to the police had just exploded 1,000 miles away. Right in the middle of their stolen paradise. The honeymoon was over. The fantasy built on my name and my money had disappeared. I knew as I sat on my balcony that they'd be on the next flight home. I knew they wouldn't call to apologize. Wouldn't text to explain. They'd come to my apartment. Not sad. Angry. They weren't coming to beg forgiveness. They were coming to attack the person who'd finally held them responsible. I went inside. Locked my door. Put the chain on. Sat in my reading chair. And waited for the storm. Came just after 9 p.m. the next night. I'd been half expecting them all day. Every car that passed. Every footstep in the hallway made my heart beat faster. But I wasn't scared. I was ready. When headlights flashed through my window, I was already sitting in my chair, reading a book. I heard car doors slam. Not gentle. Angry. Then the pounding. Not knocking. Not pressing the doorbell. Heavy, furious pounding on my door. Mum. Open this door right now. Michael's voice. Not the charming one he used to use. A raw, panicked, ugly sound. I calmly put my bookmark in place. Set the book on the side table. Didn't rush. Walked to the door. Looked through the peephole. They were both there. Stephanie stood slightly behind him. Her face pale. Mascara running. She looked like a spoiled child whose toy had been taken. Michael was red-faced. Hair messy. He looked like a trapped animal. He raised his fist to pound again. Opened the door. Left the chain lock on. A small gap between us. They were in the hallway. I was safe in my home. We stared at each other for a long moment. Mom, Michael breathed, his voice breaking with rage. What did you do? I don't understand your question, I said. She lunged forward like she wanted to grab me. Her hand hit the door. I didn't move. Just looked at her. The Riverside is suing us. Stephanie screamed. Tears of anger, not sadness, running down her face. Our accounts are frozen. The credit card. You told them. You told them everything. We had to borrow money from my parents just to fly home. From Hawaii. You ruined our honeymoon. You didn't have a honeymoon, Stephanie, I said. My voice cold and clear as the chain between us. You had a vacation paid for by a stolen credit card. A vacation I apparently funded. Her face went from rage to shock. She had no response. Michael pushed her aside gently, pressed close to the door. His eyes begging but still angry. Listen. You have to call them back. Go down there. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. Paperwork error. Tell them you were confused. Tell them you're old and made a mistake. Just say something. Anything. You can fix this. I looked at my son. The man I'd raised. Standing in my hallway after stealing $85,200 from me. After forging my signature. After replacing me at his wedding. And he was demanding I lie. Call myself confused. Call myself old. Commit a new crime, lying to police to cover up his crimes. No, Michael, I said. The finality in my voice hit him like cold water. His anger melted. For the first time I saw what was underneath. Pure terror. No, he whispered. No, I will not be calling them. I will not be fixing this. But Mom. His voice cracked. They're going to arrest me. They said so. Forgery. Grand theft. They said I could go to prison. Please. You can't let them do this. You can't send your own son to prison. He was crying now. Big gasping sobs like a child. He was playing his last card. The guilt card. The mother card. The card that had always worked for 32 years. I looked at him. Saw the weakness I'd enabled. Saw the charm I'd excused. And felt nothing. Just deep final stillness. I am not sending you to prison, Michael. He looked up. Hope appeared in his wet eyes. I'm not, I continued. I did not forge a signature on a $60,500 contract. I did not open a credit card for $17,200 in someone else's name. I did not steal $8,000 under false pretenses. I did not book a honeymoon I couldn't afford. I did not dance with another woman and call her my bonus mom. You did those things, said. My voice unshakable. I reported a crime committed against me. The rest, the consequences, the fear you're feeling, that's all yours. You earned it, Michael. You and your wife. Stephanie was silent, her face white. She finally understood. This wasn't a negotiation. Michael just stared, mouth open. No more words. No more moves. The charm had failed. The guilt had failed. Nothing left but cold, hard truth. You need to leave, I said. He didn't move. You're trespassing, I said. My voice harder. If you don't leave, I'll call Detective Rodriguez. I'll add harassment to my report. I'm sure she'd be very interested. That word did it. Detective. Stephanie grabbed his arm. Pulled hard. Michael, let's go. Let's go. He let her pull him back. Stumbling. His eyes still on my face. Full of confused hatred. You chose this, Mom, he whispered. One last pathetic attempt to blame me. Yes, Michael, I said as I closed the door. Locked it. I did. I turned away. Leaned against the door for a moment. The pounding stopped. I heard their angry, scared voices fading. Heard their car doors slam. Heard tires squeal as they sped away down my quiet street. Then silence. The storm had passed. The power was mine. In my quiet apartment I was finally completely safe. I didn't hear from Michael again. Not directly. In the days after our confrontation, a quiet, organized process began. I was no longer a victim. I was a witness. Detective Rodriguez called me about once a week with updates. Her voice always professional. Matter of fact. Mrs. Chen just wanted you to know we met with your son, his wife, and their lawyer. Lawyer. Stephanie's parents had obviously paid for one. The case is solid, Barbara. He told me. Your documentation was perfect. Open and shut. They have no defense. The forgery is clear. The intent is clear. They weren't prepared for your level of organization. Thank you, Detective, I simply said. She explained the process. The district attorney, looking at my binder, gave Michael and Stephanie a choice. Not really a choice. They could be charged with multiple felonies. Forgery. Grand theft. Identity theft. Face a jury. Almost certainly be convicted. Serve prison time. Or accept a plea deal. The deal was harsh. As it should be. First, plead guilty to a reduced felony. Financial fraud. It would stay on their records forever. Second, most importantly, full and immediate financial restitution. Not payments. Not partial. Full restitution. $85,200. $60,500 to the Riverside estate. $17,200 to the credit card company. $8,000 returned to me. They have 30 days, Barbara, Detective Rodriguez said. 30 days to get the money. If they fail, the deal is void. The DA proceeds with full charges. See, I said. And where will they get that kind of money? The detective laughed. A dry sound. Well, that's their problem. But from what I hear, they're learning just how expensive their choices were. The arrogance I'd seen on Stephanie's face was now a memory. Their lives, so carefully displayed on social media, were being publicly torn apart. The new car I'd seen them drive wasn't leased. They'd bought it with the fraudulent credit card. The bank took it back within days. The expensive wedding gifts I'd seen in their photos. All returned. Every blender. Every decorative bowl. But it wasn't enough. Not close. I heard from my niece, the Facebook one, who called crying to apologize for being so blind. She told me the rumors. Stephanie had been forced to sell her engagement ring. The one Michael had probably also bought with that card. They'd lost their apartment. Couldn't pay rent. The DA wasn't interested in excuses. The Riverside estate, a powerful business, put pressure on. They made it known quietly that the Davis Martinez name was now connected to fraud. Michael's reputation, his charm, was worthless. He lost his job. So the final humiliating step. They had to go to Stephanie's parents. Had to beg. Had to confess the entire stupid, sordid plan. Had to admit their whole marriage was built on theft. The week-old, we hung up. That afternoon my doorbell rang. A delivery person with a clipboard and an envelope. Signed. Closed the door. Sat at my kitchen table. The same table where I'd opened the invoice that started everything. Opened the envelope. Inside was a certified check from the district attorney's office. $8,000. I didn't cry. Didn't celebrate. Just looked at the check. The paper trail was complete. The account settled. My son had put a price on my love. $85,200. In the end, it was he who paid every penny. It's been 7 months now. Winter passed. Cold and quiet. Then spring came. Like it always does. I'm on my balcony. It's May. My new flowers are blooming. The air smells sweet. I took that $8,000 check. The one from the DA. Deposited it. The next day, I hired someone to install a new security system. A video doorbell. Better locks. Camera in the hallway. I used the rest to improve my balcony garden. Planted new roses along the railing. Bought a small water fountain. The sound of flowing water is all I hear in the mornings. Besides birds singing. My apartment is quiet. But it's not the silence of loneliness anymore. It's the silence of peace. I did something a mother isn't supposed to be able to do. I drew a line. And I didn't cross back. In my office, in the bottom drawer of my desk, there's an old photo album. I found it while cleaning last month. I sat on the floor and opened it. There was Michael. A little boy in a superhero costume. Face painted. Grinning at the camera. Missing his 2 front teeth. I felt pain in my chest. Sharp and sudden. It was grief. Not for the man who pounded on my door and yelled at me. Not for the criminal who stole my identity. I was grieving the little boy. Grieving the son I thought I'd raised. Cried. For the first time since this began. Cried for that little boy. For the mother I used to be. The one who believed love could fix everything. Then I closed the album. Put it back in the drawer. My love couldn't fix him. My money couldn't save him. My sacrifice only enabled his cruelty. I've accepted the grief is real. But it's a small price for my freedom. I don't know where Michael and Stephanie are now. I heard through my niece they moved to another state. No one here would hire them. Their names were poison. They're living with her parents, I think. In a small rental. A prison of their own making. I'm not their guard. I'm simply someone who survived. I've started volunteering again. 3 times a week I go to a senior center. Not as a client. As a teacher. I help older people understand their bank statements. Teach them about online security. How to protect themselves from fraud. Including fraud by family members. They respect my experience. They listen. Feels good to matter again. I'm sitting on my balcony now. The sun is warm. My tea is hot. My life isn't smaller because they're gone. and simpler. It's mine. I learned at 64 years old that it's never, ever too late to demand respect. I learned that family isn't a free pass. It's not permission to accept abuse. And I learned the hard way that real love doesn't use you. It honors you. She looks up. A small, peaceful smile on her weathered face. The camera stays on her. Today, my peace is my greatest achievement. My home is my safe place. Every subscription to Granny's Voice, every comment, feels like support. Like proof that other people understand. That other women know they have a voice too. That they have a right to protect themselves. Even from their own children. Please help this community grow. Help other grandmothers know they're not alone. I think I'll go water those new roses now. They're beautiful this year.